have discussed in a previous session about the criticisms that are now leveled against marketing as a profession, and also the various theories that have been driving the marketing discipline for last several decades. And we had looked at criticisms like the exploitative and manipulative nature of marketing according to the critics. We had also looked at that there is downright deceitfulness on behalf of certain marketers, and formation of cartels, manipulating prices, preying upon the fears of consumers, persuading people to over consume, and all of these criticisms have been discussed in earlier session. Obviously, enlightened marketers, the more responsible global companies, and it is particularly true for some of the global companies who have faced most of the criticism, and it goes to their credit that many of them have come up over the last 15-20 years with positive and effective responses to these criticisms. And in the long range, most corporates now understand that doing good or being good, being responsible, will be ultimately quite beneficial for the company's business as well. And we will discuss in today's session that how ethics, social responsibility, being good, doing good can be integrated into your marketing strategy for long range benefit. In the concluding part of the previous session, we had seen that how being trustworthy, being honorable, being caring actually can contribute to customer loyalty, to customer advocacy. And so, we will look at these enlightened postmodern marketing concepts and how they can support a long range strategy of the organization and actually create value not only for the shareholders, but for the stakeholders at large. So, beyond the usual segmentation, targeting, positioning, and beyond the so called P's, which we normally talk about, marketing mix, 4 P's, 5 P's, 7 P's, and all these C's like customers, competitors, consumers, and all those normal concepts or traditional bookish textbook concepts on marketing that have been prevalent for last several decades have now been reinterpreted in terms of some of these overriding philosophies like customer oriented marketing or customer value marketing or sense of mission marketing or society oriented, socially responsible marketing, and we are going to discuss some of these concepts. So, customer oriented marketing, which is basically and both as well as the customer value marketing, fundamentally looks at creating a higher ground, taking your brand, taking your company's image, positioning it on the platform of reputation and respect, which is actually very beneficial to the brand at the end. In fact, there are excellent books like, for example, this book Beyond Branding, This is now available. This is edited by Nicholas Ind, and it is available in a low cost South Asian edition. It costs just about 250 rupees and has excellent papers, and some of those concepts I have used in this session and the next session, where it actually talks about that beyond brand narcissism, that means obsession with your own story is not good, but you have to look at in terms of the customer. So, brand sustainability, brand authenticity, or creating the brand manifesto, that why brands must act now, in a way that means why marketers must act now, or alienate the future primary most valuable consumer group. So, these kind of concepts are coming up. So, when customer oriented marketing, we are basically saying that every marketing activity must be interpreted from consumers' point of view, and look at consumers not as resources, as numbers to be manipulated, to be harvested, to be harnessed, all these terminologies that we have been using in marketing, and kind of take a stand against those, that looking at market consumers as some kind of bank that can be exploited, or some kind of a resource which quite normally, you have seen that we have used earlier terminologies in the traditional textbook is way on harvesting, and so now we look at consumers as people and their happiness, their sorrow, and marketing must relate to real life. So, and there are some great examples in these. For example, we have seen campaigns by famous soap, a soap company, which talked about real beauty. That means, instead of always portraying beautiful models and film stars trying to promote a product, they actually looked at the impact of their product on real people, and so the campaign, I think, was called the Real Beauty. So, it actually showed that the beauty concerns or of real people, and how the product actually related to those concerns. So, in a way, it therefore stepped away from spending millions of rupees on big superstars and so on, and in a way they actually took that money and used it up in for real people. So, consumer oriented marketing or customer value marketing, which basically looks at long term benefit of the customer, and the fund that is or resource that is saved in not trying to manipulate people, or playing upon the fear of people, or saving money from gimmicky ads and promotion, or saving money from that cosmetic change in the packaging and calling it a product renewal or something. If you focus on real customer benefit, convenience, improvement of quality, improvement in usability, then that kind of marketing, which goes hand in hand with total quality concept, is actually is the new form of marketing. Sense of mission marketing, this is actually again another move where you actually move your brand building to the higher level, and so instead of talking in terms of narrow product terms, you take up broad social issues. So, excellent example is the Tata Tea's campaign on Jagore. So, it is a very good campaign, because it on one hand it alerts us to social issues like corruption and social issues like bribery and so on, and it alerts the customer to rise awake against all those malpractices. But at the same time, it creates a subtle connection with our morning cup of tea, which we normally associate with waking up. So that's a very good example of using this sense of mission marketing, which does good for society as well as for the brand, as well as for that company's image. In the same way, when Saffola actually puts forth the cause of well-being of the consumer, people who are suffering from sugar and cholesterol and so on, and make that as the foundation for promoting their oil or their atta or their rice, then that becomes this integrating a kind of a mission, a societal orientation with your campaign. Or Classmate, for example, from ITC, which is a stationery brand, and it talks about how your spending on Classmate products will actually, part of that will contribute to rural schools, education of the disadvantaged children and so on. So, these are good examples of the so-called new interpretation of marketing, which puts the consumer first, the society first, and so on. This is an quite famous slide used by Kotler and Weaver and others, which actually looks at the long-term customer benefit, a 2x2 matrix, which looked at the long-term customer benefit and immediate satisfaction. So, immediate satisfaction low, but long-term benefit is high. This actually relate to many low sugar product and so on. So, these are called salutary products, and but the one which is quite interesting is this whole area of what we call desirable product. That means the products which are high on long-term consumer benefit as well as high on immediate satisfaction. This is actually not so easy to create this position, but there are a number of products which are now looking at this situation. So, we are actually looking basically always this long-term benefit, either where immediate satisfaction may be low. So, a low sugar product, because you can always create the long-term consumer benefit which is low, but the immediate satisfaction is high. So, you can have food products which are laden with salt, which is laden with fat, which is laden with elements that makes it tasty, makes it very chatpata, as we say in Indian terms. But in the long range, that kind of fast food, that kind of street food is harmful. So, we can have a colorful sweet, which is but that color may be chemically detrimental to the human system. So, the whole movement towards organic food, towards so-called pure ingredient, no artificial sweetener added, no artificial preservative added, all these moves are creating products which are salutary products, where the immediate satisfaction may be lower, but there is a long-term benefit. And of course, we are always on the lookout for long-term high long-term benefit as well as high immediate satisfaction. So, there are most of the top companies like McDonald's or Pizza Hut or KFC or Nirula's, or I think almost all food vendors, food and beverage marketers are now looking at these. So, the juice, various kinds of fruit juice, which have created a good popular category, and it actually falls into this kind of category, that where it provides you immediate satisfaction. So, you can use it instead of snacking on high cholesterol, high fat foods, and use fruit juice instead. So, you have seen campaigns on that theme, and those are examples of creating a desirable category. So, corporate marketing ethics must cover all the marketing activities, whether it is channel related activities, where we look at non-coercive relationship, where we look at this partnering relationship, which we have discussed before, advertising standards, where you voluntarily avoid manipulating customers' fears or projecting causes which are socially reprehensible, like saying that dark complexion is bad, so everybody must go for fair complexion, or how a dark complexion person actually fails in social situations. I mean, these are obviously advertising standard that has been set now around the world. These campaigns are against the moral ethical standards that enlightened marketers are embracing across the world. So, focus on customer service, fair transparent pricing. Even if you have variable pricing, be clear about the logic of that. Recently there were cases of the e-travel sites promoting some kind of an opaque pricing, which was actually detrimental to the consumer's interest, and they have then since then been withdrawn. So, today there is a far more active consumer awareness bodies, the consumer protection regulations, which we discussed in the previous session. That is something that every marketer must be conscious of, and it is much better that you voluntarily comply or even create a leadership position based on compliance, rather than get reprimanded by these regulatory bodies or consumer forums, and then you actually appear to be a reactionary rather than a proactive, socially responsible marketer. So, the general ethical standards, of course, are also important. So, this pyramid that is actually borrowed from literature is a very clear, you have the references there. So, it is actually from the 90s, but it still holds good very well. So, the economic responsibilities, that means you need to be profitable, otherwise the business does not exist. That is that goal remains for the marketing function, but we must build upon that the higher layers of ethical responsibility and philanthropic responsibility. That means looking at yourself not as we versus they, or we are the marketers and they are the consumers type of attitude, but understand that you as a corporate belong to the same society. So, what we now call the corporate citizenship. So, that and being ethical in all your dealings, doing things that you can clearly feel that what is right, what is just, what is fair, and what does not harm others. So, these concepts, which are eternal concepts, now are becoming part of the marketing strategy, and very rightly so. So, overall issues in marketing is that not to misrepresent, not to make false claims that use it for 7 days and you will become the handsomest, prettiest person around, and make this kind of manipulation of fear, creating a thing that you are not good, you are not okay, and therefore use my product and then you will become okay. All these manipulative, exploitative approaches to marketing must be shunned. So, in the case of products not to use spurious products, defective products, be proactive in recalling if you have found a defective. We can see companies like Toyota or many other respected companies around the world, how proactive they are with respect to product recall. So, this has become an important ethical marketing strategy, which ultimately creates respect for the brand, respects for the organization. So, price fixing, price discrimination, predatory pricing, trying to exploit a artificially created shortage, misleading communication, high pressure sales by creating artificial incentives. These are general no issues in marketing today. Now, it is important to understand, of course, that this responsible marketing also needs some education on for the marketer, that one has to understand things like privacy, copyright. These are now becoming much more important because we have the technology which can actually make us quite intrusive, and you can actually be constantly creating high pressure, which many of us are irritated by those constant stream of text messages that we receive on our mobile phone from various marketers, for which now protection has been created for the consumer. But so all of these therefore are complex issues, because once you see, they appear to be a very attractive way of constantly reminding the customer about your product, your service, and so on, but it can also be invading the privacy of the citizen, of the consumer. So, all these ethical conflicts that emerge between your personal values and the values held by the organization, or sometimes values that have been earlier promoted in the marketing profession. The best way to judge whether you are doing the right thing as a marketer is to ask your own conscience, because in most of the time, as many research work has shown, that people actually almost always know that what is that should be done and what is it that should not be done, and it equally applies to the marketing situation. So, ethical climate therefore is something that is cannot be practiced by the marketing discipline alone. It has to be part of the overall organization ethos. So, there is a tone, culture that has to permeate the entire organization, then only the responsible marketing can be successful. So, now organizations do have code of conduct, which is actually based on very clear cut explanations about different kind of practices under different kinds of conflict situation. Many top multinational companies have created a code of conduct which is kind of takes into account their global operations across the world, and create something that can be almost religiously practiced in any one operation. So, there are variations. What is considered as bribery in one country may be considered as speed money in another country. There are places where you can even show a bribe expenditure as an incentive or something that was needed to facilitate the transaction. But these are corporations, particularly global corporations, can rise above these petty misinterpretations in certain localities, and can create a code of conduct which can be universally practiced across all national operations. So, any of these codes, when it comes to applying it to marketing, they have 6 core values, which are these wordings can change, but fundamentally trustworthiness, respect, and being responsible, fairness, citizenship, caring. These are the 6 factors, and of particular importance in this, and we will perhaps discuss it in a little bit more detail, that this intangible value of being trustworthy being respectable, how that actually builds reputation, which is more and more becoming a foundation of strong brands in this cluttered marketplace of today. And we will discuss about the strategies, marketing strategies that can go towards building reputation, where the social objectives, the ethical objectives, the objectives of being responsible can so well be congruent with your objectives of building a strong brand, building a strong relation with the customer, and so on. So, this is a simple quick test which is used by many organizations with variations in the wordings, but fundamentally your action must be legal. There is not much of ambiguity there. There may be some interpretation issues, but it is better be safe than sorry as far as being legal. Does it comply with your own declared values? Because many companies now have this code of conduct which is stated in their company document, on their website, and so on. And so, any marketing decision, when we face that particular problem, can be checked against your own declared values. And every marketer can also ask at a personal level that, will I feel good if I do this? And earlier we have seen the so called the so called company man, to whom everything was fair as long as it made you win. That concept of that hard nosed, the free market orientation, people are now understanding that that was actually in many ways a misinterpretation, and that selfishness is good when you are actually clear with your in front of your own conscience, and you can look at yourself in the mirror with clear conscience, and that is another good test for marketing professionals, whether a particular pricing strategy, whether a particular promotion campaign is good, acceptable, or bad, and in the long range detrimental to the brand strength. So, another good thing today is the all pervasive media, the presence of media through hundreds of channels on TV, 24-hour news channels, the ever present internet, the tweets, the Facebook, and the various social forum on the electronic media. All these are in a way good for combining or integrating ethical approach with brand strategy, because otherwise you can be in big time trouble even with small lapses. So, today whether your hospital has good fire prevention is now no longer an option, that you must spend that money in your service infrastructure, which ensures safety, health, environmental consciousness, because the media otherwise can completely destroy your brand position. So, the strong media ensures that companies like Enron or companies like Lehman Brothers will not be able to create that strong brand which is internally corrupt, and that power of media, therefore, in many ways is promoting, is supporting, is nurturing this ethical marketing strategy. So, that brings us to the conclusion. The responsible market orientation that is the development of an organization culture that looks at all these superior values, so that focusing on the buyer, focusing on the consumer as real people, and dedicating your brand to doing real good for them, then creates the compulsion for superior performance, for total quality approach, and that goes hand in hand with ethics and social responsibility. And what we call stakeholder orientation, that means looking at the benefit of customers, looking at the benefit of society, looking at back for employees, benefit of in fact, benefit of employees has become a very big way of testing, because the employees are real people and they are also consumers in many cases, and looking at their perception can actually give you a good test of what is good or what is bad in your marketing strategy. So, how do you actually create this stakeholder awareness responsibility is very simply stated in this implementation concept of sense, share, respond. That means, you create a sensing mechanism across your stakeholder network to understand their wants, their needs, and their complaints, and their discomforts and their inconveniences, and then distribute that throughout across all the disciplines in the organization and create responses. And if you remove inconvenience, if you remove causes of long term disadvantage for the customer, impact on the health or safety of the customer, health and safety of your employees, the fairness to your suppliers, all of these, if you actually integrate across all the operational disciplines, becomes your response. And in a way, the word responsibility is a combination of response and ability. So, your ability to respond to the need of doing the right thing for the customer, for the employees, for the stakeholders at large, focusing on not profit, but the triple bottom line, as we call it. That means, focusing on people and the planet and then profitability is now becoming the key goal for all marketing strategy. So, we are going to look at in greater detail the concepts of the so called triple bottom line or socially responsible marketing, and how it relates to the overall corporate strategy that is based on sustainability. So, what is this sustainable marketing or sustainable strategy, and how do we implement it, and what are the do's and don'ts in that respect, will be the topic that we will discuss now. So, triple bottom line simply means, and also there is this concept of 3E. The triple bottom line was coined by John Elkington in 1995, and it talks about people, planet and profit in that order. And therefore, it says that this pure profit orientation can actually cause distortion, and it also cautions us that the focus on profit, predatory focus on profit, actually is in the long range harmful for the brand. It can actually cause the collapse of the whole organization, as we have seen in case of Enron, and therefore, it is very important to first consider the well-being of customers, of employees as real people. So, focus on people in the sense in the long way it is actually focused on not only the stakeholders, but society at large, the community where you operate, your own employees, your own customers, your own consumers, and looking at them as real people, just as your own person, your own family member, as people whom you love and cherish. If you look, if you think of customers and employees and community in that in that term, then that can guide us to superior marketing strategy. In the same way, focusing on the environment, and this is what we will see at the conclusion of today's session, that ultimately actually the focusing on planet, that means being more resource efficient, consuming less energy, consuming less material. These are all ultimately quite beneficial to your profitability, because they lower your cost, short term cost as well as long term cost. And similarly, this concept of equity, environment and economy, they are also derived from the simple concept that corporates must not only answer the basic question, as Drucker said, that what business are we in. At the same time, we must actually answer today's questions like, what do we stand for? In the eyes of the customer, how do we appear? I mean, what is the purpose of our organization in the eyes, in the perception of the customer or our employees? So this identity establishment, this what values do we project, can become actually a powerful brand platform, and can be actually a very powerful marketing strategy, as we have seen with the success of many of the Tata brands or Godrej brands, or some of these well established Indian companies, and their marketing success tell us that the approach that is now being proposed as models for sustainability are ultimately good marketing strategies. Some of the important concepts that are being used now in this domain, like the natural step, which talks about this. If you actually just search for TNS, or the natural step, then you will find that it simply says that material from Earth's crust should not actually land up in the biosphere due to your actions, which means that use less fossil fuel, because that is something that belongs to the crust, and you are not actually going to use it. Processes that actually proliferate these elements to pollute the environment. So, concentration of substances extracted from the Earth's crust should not find their way into the biosphere. This is actually one of the steps in the TNS. The second is concentration of substances produced by society. That means the human system manufactures the PET bottles and or detergents, and they actually, if they land up in our landfill, they actually choke our natural flow of water bodies, then that is actually flouting the second principle. The third principle is degradation by physical means. That means we must eliminate our contribution to the continuous degradation of soil condition, for example, by excessive use of chemicals. This is what is the third principle. That means degradation by physical means, by industrial activities, that must be avoided. And lastly, the TNS talks about that people are not subject to conditions that systematically undermine to meet the capacity of their own needs, which means actually using bad chemicals, as preservative in the food that you want to market to enhance your shelf life, and in the process you harm the consumers, this is something that is detrimental or against the concept of TNS. And this actually, if you see websites like www.naturalstep.org, you will find that how these simple natural steps can actually help you build very strong market positions. Earn you respect, and respectability becomes a very, very desirable marketing strategy today. McDonough actually brought in these principles like cradle to cradle design instead of cradle to grave. That means instead of taking all our marketing activities, which is now derided as that our activities should not be take, make and waste. That means we take stuff from nature and make products, and products which actually are marketed through manipulative marketing, and therefore very soon they actually land up in the waste heap, and in the process we actually enhance the garbage dump and choke our nations, oceans, choke our all natural habitats, and create various kinds of environmental degradation. Instead of that, if we think of design as a system and think that how we can actually a product, when it has fulfilled its purpose, how we can actually recreate, reassign, reuse that product, recycle. So, all these the so called R's are now to be conceived of right at the inception stage of the product. So, that is called cradle to cradle design. Again, there are excellent material available on the internet which you can look, and you can see that how actually the cradle to cradle approach or approaches like creating waste is equal to food. That means, create sort of closed loop systems that you can take the waste material from your kitchen garbage and turn that into a compost, which can be then used to fertilize your kitchen garden and grow more food, or give it to people who will collect it and convert that into manure, which is organic and much better than the so called chemical manures used in the past. All these approaches are ultimately good for society, and therefore good for your brand. And then there are concepts like natural capitalism. So, when we look at, therefore, from a marketing perspective, the sustainability ladder, then we must understand that actually it has this products and services as well as production processes, and the business model and the company focus. All this put together creates the brand identity of the company, and if that is actually based on either the TNS principle or the triple bottom line principle or the TNS or TBL or 3E, and if these are associated with the brand identity of your company, which means that it actually must permeate in all these aspects, then you can actually create a leadership position and based on advocacy, and this is very closely tied to our so called famous brand pyramid, where you know that from a transactional level or transient relation with the customer, we want to create a relational level, we want to create emotional connection with the customer, emotional bond, and then we can go to respect in the customer, where the customer becomes your customer advocacy. Customer becomes your marketer, and this customer advocacy can only be achieved if you create a leadership position which is based on products, processes, business model and company focus, creating thereby a brand identity which is actually connected to your concept implementation of the sustainability models. There are many examples. For example, Interface Corporation, which is the largest commercial carpet manufacturer in the world, and their vision says to be the first company that by its deeds shows the entire industrial world what sustainability is in all its dimensions: people, process, product, place and profits by 2020, and in doing so we will become restorative through the power of influence. So, you see, if you actually implement this and this becomes a underlying philosophy, that is earning the respect in the eyes of your customers, then people will be proud to possess, procure your products, and that is today's marketing high ground. And I will give several other examples in this session that Interface Corporation implements this through eliminating of the waste. They have a specific program, and as you can understand, elimination of waste simply means you are reducing your variable cost and fixed cost, and ultimately actually you are also helping your margin, and which can actually make you much more competitive. You can actually become a low cost strategist, and that goes hand in hand with this kind of approach of eliminating waste, running a lean operation, attacking every form of waste: waste of time, waste of material, waste of labor, waste of wasteful exploitation of the environment. And so that brings us to the question of emissions, that you reduce your emissions, various forms of environment degrading emissions, and by use of renewable energy, and these are all good economic, makes good economic sense, and therefore improves your marketing strength. So, resource efficient transportation. So, if you go to the Interface website and look at all these issues, you will understand that this approach is actually which is going to contribute to their strength in this field. And it does not mean that only by doing this you will be successful, but without doing this today it will be very difficult for you to be successful. So, Interface Corporation may fail due to other reasons, but it does not, no company fails because you are trying to be ethical, you are trying to be responsible, because in the long range that is the only way you can have a respectable brand, a reputation. Nike, for example, we all know that it is a very strong brand. It is doing well, and it is also, by the way, responding to many criticisms and being responsive to those criticisms. They are constantly improving, and in the process innovating, coming up with products that are good for the customer, good for the environment. So, this reuse a shoe campaign or recycling of shoes in ways actually create either new revenue streams or saves cost and expands the market. So, every respect it is actually a good approach, and their collaboration with McDonald's, that is the whole concept of triple bottom line and sustainability, has given them strength. Johnson & Johnson, another good example that how actually in saving energy in their entire operation, being conscious about wasteful usage of lights, fans, motors, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and trying to sustain save energy is good for their cost, their bottom line, their expenses, reducing their expenses. In the same way, it makes them, you earn good brand value by saying that all our facilities are 5-star energy saving facilities. These are all good building blocks today for successful brands. So, these are the 4 system conditions that we were discussing earlier in the context of the TNS, that is, we do not allow Earth's crust material to go to the biosphere, we do not allow the goods produced by our industrial system to pollute the environment and so on. This we have already discussed. So, these are this leads us to this very interesting simple picture that the demand as such is going up due to this product of population into affluence, into technological developments, but on the other hand we do have a limit to the natural capacity and the Earth's resources. So, if we look this as that if we do not take action, then we will soon have our demand will far exceed that what the Earth can provide, and this is an unsustainable situation. This is what is going to destroy our future customers, our societies, as we have seen in many areas around say even parts of India, where 1 ton usage of chemical fertilizer created acres and acres, thousands of acres of land which have now become sodic, which have now become alkaline, which have now become unusable, and therefore villages have collapsed, and those people have migrated to cities and are living in deplorable conditions in slums, and all of these are result of being not mindful or being not responsible that what is the capacity of the community, of your environment, of where you live, where you work, and you know how you are actually managing your consumption. So, this is what we call the margin for action, and if we keep this and do not allow our system to go in this unsustainable direction, that actually can give us good handle on our marketing and corporate strategy. So, for example, Electrolux, which is a very large manufacturer of white goods around the world, and initially some of their customers actually put the pressure, but today they are environmental conscious. The 5-star branded, 5-star labeled their air conditioners, their washing machines, their microwave ovens, their dishwashers, and all of these equipment. On one hand, they save energy, they provide a stronger brand position for them, they make it mandatory for their competitors to measure up, and since they need good technological sophistication and competence, they actually create a better margin situation for their product line. So, companies like LG or companies like Voltas in India or companies like Electrolux, by focusing on a responsible attitude towards saving of energy, therefore ultimately saving of fossil fuel, focusing on various degrading elements in the original heating, ventilation, cooling products, by positioning themselves as responsible in terms of the triple bottom line or the natural steps. They have created a strong position, just as this company IKEA, which is the leading furniture brand, and again their furniture, because it meets all nature conserving systems, they use now most of their products are now based on cradle to cradle designs. There are options of recycling, reusing in various ways. They are providing those facilities to customers. They are showing the way and creating thereby a good standard for sustainable marketing best practices. So, these are important issues when you want to integrate sustainability, because it may mean, if you remember that 2x2 matrix that we showed, that the long range benefit for the consumer, or it may actually be detrimental to some short term profit. So, to operate in these two segments, you may actually have to consciously give up this particular segment. So, something that is immediately the so called pleasing products, that those are actually, as we were discussing about, high cholesterol, high fat, high sugar content, that can actually create products that are immediately pleasing, but in the long range detrimental to the consumer's health. So, at one time, companies like most of the soft drinks companies, most of the fast food companies, they have made millions of dollars by operating in this area. That means attracting the customer for the short term pleasure, but today we know that these are no longer tenable positions. We have to find our position where we call the salutary products and services and desirable products and services. To be in those quadrants, we have to have senior management commitment, we have to involve all the employees. That is absolutely part of the sense, share, respond strategy of implementation that we discussed. And we can start with low hanging fruits like product packaging, so that we actually use packaging material that does not clutter the environment. They are biodegradable, or they are something that those packaging products can be reused. This has been shown in a wonderful way by some companies in Africa, where the packaging parts are so well made that instead of their becoming part of the ragtag juggi jhopri, they can actually become pre-designed, so that they can easily become blocks for building huts or cottages. So, this kind of approach can be seen as a low hanging fruit. So, companies like Kone Elevators from Finland, or Schindler, or various other earth moving machinery manufacturers, construction equipment manufacturers have done some very interesting work. Companies like Larsen Toubro in India, they have done good work on improving their packaging, which is environmentally more responsible. So, therefore, long range action is also necessary to make your R&D, make your design and development responsible, and therefore, it goes into the product platform design, which actually is based on concepts like reuse or remanufacture or recycle, and then they can become part of the your green marketing goals, because interestingly, by taking these company wide actions, you can create a strong brand position which is based on social respectability, and as we will see, therefore, that becomes the foundation of earning your building your company's reputation, and reputation today is an unassailable competitive advantage that must be the aim of most marketers who want to create a sustainable position for their organization.